Welcome back to the Circuit de Estoril. It's the opening round of the FIM CEV Repsol. And up next is the second race for the European Talent Cup. A 16-lapper, 4.1 kilometres is the circuit. Of course, running in a clockwise direction. There are 9 right-hand corners and 4 that are left. So it's going to be very exciting. We had the first race, of course, earlier on this morning, and that was a thrilling affair, which we'll talk you through. Let's show you some highlights of that now, actually, and give you an idea of exactly what happened of the opening race of the season for the European Talent Cup. In just a couple of moments, we'll get that through to you. Here we go. So it's Barry Baltus who started from pole position with Francisco Gomez and Carlos Tatay alongside. Away from the lights, it was still Baltus who led the way. Some good overtaking and some good clean starts as they were very gingerly making their way through the opening lap. You can see, of course, earlier rain really did put pay to the grip on track, and everybody was taking it a little bit carefully in the opening few corners. Carlos Tatay then hit the front. He was followed by the Estrella Galicia rider of the number 76 of Holborn. And then we see some problems as well for the CIP team. Meanwhile, there was also some issues a little bit further down. It was quite a crash-strewn affair. There were some dramas as well. 2 Estrella Galicia bikes going out in the space of a few laps. Pietro Pervalainen, unfortunately, also biting the dust. Meanwhile, there was some good action further down with Francisco Gomez leading the charge ahead of Victor Rodriguez. Meanwhile, Barry Baltus led the race commandingly, taking the first race victory of the season, his first ever in the European Talent Cup in his second round in the championship. And what a way to do it. That was hugely exciting. Race 2 is set to be very, very interesting. If it's anything, if it's half as good as race 1 there, Fran, we should be in for a bit of a cracker.
Definitely. I think it's also interesting for these guys now. It's cleared up quite a lot of the weather, so hopefully that's not going to play too much of a role now. But Barry Baltus will be feeling on pretty much a high after that race 1 win and wanting to do it again. Have to see if these guys can go with him this time. Yeah, it's been a bit of a torrid day really for the Estrella Galicia team, both in terms of Moto3 and the European Talent Cup. We won't spoil anything for Moto3 just in case you have just joined us for this round of the European Talent Cup. However, earlier on this morning, both riders unfortunately ended up crashing out of the race, which was a big shame. In fact, 3 riders ended up crashing out of the race, which was a really, really big shame for all of them involved. That's, of course, included, there's 51 riders on the entry list as I try and scuffle my way through it. That included Jose Rueda, Daniel Holgado, and the other rider of, as I try and find my way through this entry list as I say, it proved to be a little bit trickier than normal, of Julian Hidao rather, I should say. So 3 riders unfortunately failing to finish. A difficult start for them. One who did though was Barry Baltus, the Belgian, and he is looking in good shape to try and repeat the same feat in race number 2. It's going to be very interesting, of course, now, Fran, because the circuit's dried out quite significantly. Slick tyres will unquestionably be on all of the bikes, but grip levels will be up as well. Yeah, definitely. It's going to be pretty much a different playing field for the guys now, so we'll have to see how that affects the outcome. But like I say, Baltus will be on pretty much just a high going into this race, hoping to repeat what he managed to do earlier on today. But the guys behind, you know, they'll have learnt a lot as well. It's always, after the first race, you always see it close up. I mean, the recent kind of junior level example of this, that's the best one to use, is the Asia Talent Cup, where we've seen a couple of incredible duels on the Saturday in Qatar and then in Buriram. And then on Sunday, the group really close in the second race. So racing on the same day here in the CEV, but they'll be hoping to use those things that they've learnt earlier on and bring the challenge to Barry Baltus here. So yeah, as you can see, 1 win, 1 podium, 1 pole. So it was a pretty good day so far. He'll just want to repeat it. But it's going to be far from easy, I think, because now obviously he mastered those conditions earlier better than the rest of the field, and it was quite a difficult one, as we saw even in Moto 2 afterwards. Had an immediate crash off the line for one of the riders there. Won't spoil who it was. So yeah, it's pretty interesting for these guys now. It's pretty much reset, and they'll want to get right in the battle and make sure that Baltus can't escape again. So Francisco Gomez, he'll be wanting to move forward and, yeah, not let the guy ahead of him on the grid get away. But it's always an interesting one, I think, when you get changing conditions on the same day, because it's not as simple as simply learning from the first race and then taking it into the second. You can learn a lot, but it's also how you adapt to the conditions, and they should hopefully be better for the field now they're a bit more of a known quantity. So here we have the other Reala Avintia bike of Carlos Tatai, who had some good pace with his teammate at the early stages of the first race. So we'll see if he can do a little bit better in the second and stay with him and take the fight to Baltus. So Baltus really impressive. Obviously he debuted last year and then he's won already today. So pretty good. As you can see there, some hair blowing in the wind. It's still pretty windy here, but we do at least have pretty stable skies and blue skies more than anything. So that's a good thing.
Wind commentary, I like it.
Indeed, got to do it a little bit. Here we have again another rider who'll be wanting to do a bit more than this morning. Fermin Aldeguer. I struggle with the UER at the end of the Spanish name.
I'm glad it's not just me.
I'm fairly fluent. I'm fairly fluent, but I do struggle with that pronunciation, I'll be honest. But just 12 years old, so good start for him here, and he'll want to, put in another good performance now. One
of the youngest riders in the field, only I believe succeeded by Jamie Davis, who is just a couple of months younger than him.
Yeah, got some real youngsters in this field. Obviously, they're really at the start of their careers here, and they all want to make a good impression.
Somebody who wants to be making a good impression after what was a difficult race one, shall we say, after crashing out. Rick Dunnick.
It was a difficult end to race one. It was a stunning start, but yeah, definitely
went downhill very quickly.
Yeah, he'll want points more than simply a little bit of early glory, I think, in the second race now. But he had some good pace. It'd be interesting to see how that changes with the different conditions. Yeah. As you can see, a child enjoying some crisps there.
I know, we could do some snacks in the commentary box as well. Let's be honest, it's been a long time since breakfast this morning when we left the hotel. Meanwhile, here are some riders that will be hoping for a bit of a better luck. The whole team, indeed. Julian Hierau, 15 years old, finished, of course, on the podium. I apologise for my earlier misdemeanour when I said that he did crash out. He didn't. Julian Hierau finishing on the podium with second place, of course. 20 points on the board for him. The only Estrella Galicia rider who did finish that race, which is really, really good to see. We're going to be keeping an eye on how he performs in race number 2 here this afternoon. As you can see, the fans all ready and willing to go. It's good to see the weather's picked up from earlier on. What's the wind like out?
It's still a bit chilly and it's still a bit windy, but yeah, put the jacket on now and I'm not suffering too much on the way to Parc Fermé. But earlier this morning it was pretty much like an Arctic expedition.
It's not quite that bad, is it?
Maybe that's a little bit overly dramatic.
It's been snowing in the UK at the moment, so it depends on what your perspective is. We live in Spain, don't we? So it's nice.
Maybe I've been softened up a bit by that Barcelona sunshine. I don't remember my northern roots anymore.
Exactly. Well, we've just seen Dirk Geiger, who lines up on the grid on the head of the third row in 7th position, the 15-year-old. Yep,
he'll be pretty eager to get away well in this race and make a bigger impression, I think, in the better conditions. And Xavier Artigas, I do hope that his logo will be Artigas at some point, because it's just made for it. There's a marketing opportunity there, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got it all sewn up by the sounds of things.
Yeah, definitely. So good race this morning, and looking for, again, to do something similar, I should think, or get on the rostrum now.
Yeah, I'll be definitely hoping for that. And, of course, this is the final race of the day for the European Talent Cup. We've got one more race in total after this, which is the race 2 for the Moto2 European Championship. It's going to be a very, very exciting affair. Meanwhile, we look at this guy, Colin Veldhuizen, the 14-year-old from the Netherlands. No podiums, no poles, unfortunately, and no points on the board either for him. Difficult start to life. Yeah, definitely.
I think he had a bit of a tougher race one, and maybe than qualifying led us to maybe expect. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes now. Obviously, like we keep repeating, I'm sorry. I know you're all watching too and looking at the sky, but conditions very different now and a lot sunnier.
Yeah, of course, and with the rubber that's been laid down from the bikes that we've had on with the Moto2, the Moto3 machines, and indeed these European Talent Cup bikes, it just puts a bit more grip on that track. And we know that when this circuit is very green, because there's not too much action here, it can be a bit of a difficult beast to deal with. Here's Matteo Patacco, 14 years old, 6th in the championship currently, with 10 points on the board for the 658 Squadra Corsa team, who are venturing into the into the European Talent Cup.
Yep, and Paolo Simoncelli, like I think I said during race 1, had a good long chat to him yesterday for an interview that'll actually be up on MotoGP.com later this week. But yeah, he's really quite excited about the guys he's got running in the ETC. Really positive, saying they've got a lot of talent and a lot of promise.
Kenny Koskainen unfortunately crashed out in the last race. 13 years old, the Finn. Rides with the number 57. Keep an eye out for him in this race. He could be a bit of a dark horse with the H43 Team Nobby Blue Mac bike. anything can happen, of course. We've got the other Finn rider, Pietro Pevalainen, who starts a little bit further down the order in 12th position, actually right alongside him. We'll show you him, I'm sure, in just a couple of moments' time.
Yeah, we've got a Finnish invasion there, haven't we?
Yeah, on
starting next to each other.
Yeah, on row number 4, that is. So
yeah, so it's good to see some Finnish guys here starting to make their way through the ranks and show some promise. Obviously, we've got Aki Ayo as a team manager and Nikki Ayo, sadly now a little bit more famous for his incredible save and almost crash at Assen. But here we go again, starting grid. Yeah,
Barry Baltus, Francisco Gomez, Carlos Tatai are on the first row.
And then we've got Fermin Aldeguer, Rick Dunnick and Julian Giral.
Row 3, Dirk Geiger, Xavier Artigas and Colin Feldhausen. As we wait for the graphics changeover, and we'll guide you through the rest of the grid. Quite a number of riders on the grid for this one.
So Matteo Pataka, Kenny Koskinen and Pitu Pavalainen.
Row 5, Jose Rueda, Matteo Batelli, and then John Dredge Vostatek.
And then we've got Josh Bauer, Lorenzo Fallon and Andreas Koffler.
Brother, of course, to Max, who's competing in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Keep an eye out for Andreas. Difficult start to life for him.
And then David Salvador, Colombian Nicolas Hernandez, Victor Rodriguez.
Row 8, Adrian Fernandez, Gavin Plunk and Carlos Tordesillas.
Guillermo Silva, Daniel Delgado and Luis Miguel Verdugo on row 9.
Mondago, of course, with ground to make up after race 1. Matthew Gregorio, Nicholas Scheiber and Martin Siebdrath are on row 10.
And then Britt, Jamie Davis, Inigo Iglesias, Clement Rouget, and then row 12.
Yeah, Salvo Regata, Alejandro Diez, who's starting way down in 35th position. Mattia Falzoni completes row number 12.
And then we have Angel Heredia, Josh Watley, who'll be in the BTC next weekend too, and Jake Hayes from Canada.
Yeah, and then completing the grid, Philip Rihacek, Vincent Falcone, Ika Garcia, Olel Neuville, and then Soma Golb, the Hungarian rider, completing the 44-rider strong grid. And some problems here off the start as well for Vincent Falcone. That's a shame for the French rider. He has had some dramas on the JHK Leglise bike by the looks of things. A shame there for him. He's not been able to get away, and he, at best, for this race, will be starting from the pit lane. So a disappointing way to get race 2 underway for him, but nonetheless 43 riders which will now be on the grid. It's going to be a very, very exciting time indeed. Place your bets. Let's not forget, of course, Barry Baltus is going to be a very, very quick starter. We saw that in the last time, but we know also that his teammate Carlos Tatai was very quick as well. It's different conditions, so there's not really much in terms of a form book that we can go by. We only, of course, have the results from race 1, but that, of course, was so different to the conditions that we have on track for race number 2. It will be a very exciting and very unpredictable race. Hold on to your hats, because it's going to get very action-packed indeed. But the sun's out, the bikes are on track, and we're ready for race number 2.
Yeah, it should be a good one, this one, I think. Now, everyone a little bit nervous. Everyone obviously knows the conditions are a lot better, but they also have a race under their belts now, and especially with the large amount of rookies in the field, that really does make a big difference for them.
Certainly does. So through turn 7 we go. And then into turn 8. The chicane of turns 9 and 10, which we're just going and looking at now, is going to be a crucial passing place, I reckon. These bikes are very small, and we might see a couple of 2, maybe even 3 wide passes through there. Never count anything out in European Talent Cup. Never count anything out in the FIM CEV Repsol, for that matter, either. It's always a very unpredictable championship, a very unpredictable series of races as well, and 2 races for these European Talent Cup guys. Great on-track action with 11 of these races to go over the course of the 2018 season. So, are we ready then?
I think we are. I think they look like they're ready as well. It's incredible from our commentary box. This is the only grid where we can really see a few rows at the end of it. There's that many of them.
This is very, very true. Well, Barry Baltus there, the Belgian rider on the number 7, the Realia Vinture Academy team, slots in to his rightful place on a pole position. The fastest rider in qualifying yesterday. His lap time was a 1:52.401. He was nearly 2/10 over 2/10 of a second clear of the man who starts alongside him, Francisco Gomez. Baltus, of course, having taken victory in race 1, he knows how to manage it. Will he be able to do the same in race number 2? Carlos Tatai is on the outside of your front row. Let's get ready then to go racing for the European Talent Cup race number 2. The green flag is waved at the back. Look to the top left corner of your screen. Wait for the 5 red lights to come on. When they go out, we will be racing here in the European Talent Cup for race number 2. A good start from Baltus off a pole position. Carlos Tatai as well from the front row, also getting away well. Who is going to get the lead down towards the first corner? Well, Gomez goes for the inside line. Does he go into the lead? He goes into second, so the top three, the front row, staying as you were at the first corner.
Yeah, Gomez just stealing that back there. It looked like it was going to be a Real Aventia 1-2, but not quite, just on the exit of turn 1 there, taking it back. Again though, nice clean start. Good to see from these guys, all keeping it on the road and nothing too dramatic, and then out of pit lane.
Vincent Falcone, a disappointing start for him, but nonetheless he is in the race crucially, and we saw of course in races previously today, not to spoil any results, but we saw that even though you start from the pit lane you can still end up inside some good positions. So let's wait and see what will happen. The bikes go thundering through the left-hander. A great camera shot as Bouters is already trying to check out here on the opening lap. I don't think he's going to be able to do so because Tatai and Gomez, who are behind, are already finding their way up the inside. Here comes Gomez into the interior parabolic on lap 1, he runs it wide. That's going to allow Tatai with a bit more of a track position, and they go side by side almost out of the corner. So Bouters goes from first down into second position as he just manages to hold off the charge of Tatai into turn 7.
Yeah, getting a bit close in there, getting a bit close. They're probably aware that Bouters is obviously high on confidence and got some good pace, so they don't want to let him escape. So Gomez straight at the front and wanting to, take charge a little bit and lead from there.
Well, quite understandably so. So through that chicane we go of turns 9 and 10 for the first time of asking. Everybody making it very cleanly through on this opening lap, which is really good to see. Some moves being made further down the order. That was Dirk Geiger just getting the better of the number 54 of Firmin Audiguia. That was just inside the top 10 by the looks of things. Yep, inside, that was 6th and 7th place. Those two were battling for position. But it's Gomez who leads the way over the timing line. The slipstream, though, is going to come into effect. And also coming into play as well is Julian Hirao on the number 76 Strega Lethia bike. Let's have a look at this. We go hard on the brakes in towards that first corner, chopping the nose off of Francisco Gomez's Barry Bouters, but it is Hirao who leads the way then from Tatai, from Bouters, from Gomez after the opening lap. And a drama at the first corner. Somebody has gone down. We didn't quite catch who that was on the right-hand side of your picture, but a big shame for them to end their race in the gravel after just one full lap of asking. And unfortunately, it's David Salvador that's crashed out.
Yeah, number 46 there. Oh, you'd think it'd be a lucky number in racing, but not today, no.
Unfortunately not for David.
There's a few people going down there in Moto3 as well, so obviously, you know, it's easily done when you're just starting your career and you're eager to make your way through the pack, but you'd be disappointed with that.
Yeah, it's a shame for David. Unfortunately, the Cuda de Campeones rider goes no more after lap 1. Here comes Gomez up the inside of Bouters. That was very close indeed. Gets his nose chopped off, does the Spaniard. And now Hirao has got a bit of daylight between himself and Tatai and Bouters. The Real Aventia Academy duo are going side by side into the right-hander of turn 7. Bouters once again now ahead of Tatai and now in a great position. Unfortunately not in a great position is Aurel Nouvel. He crashes out and on the number 83 Grupo Mercado Kame machine, and he will go no further.
I think there'll be some nervous faces down at Real Aventia at the moment, to be honest.
I apologise as well for the pronunciation of Nouvel. It's Newell as well.
I think it's Newell.
Newell.
I speak passable French, but that's quite an un-Frenchish name, so I struggle a little.
Well, much like in Spanish, more French than I speak.
I think Julian Hirao now is starting to really push for it. It's almost a shame that he's Spanish, because in Italian the word for a lap is a gira. So it would be a nice play on words there, but here we go again. Nervous faces at Real Aventia for these guys, dueling it across the line. Still super close, super close. So who's going to get it into turn 1?
Still early days yet between these guys as well. They've got a whole race to contend with. It's a 16-lapper. We've still got 13 to go. Audiguia, Pervalainen as Bouters just says on the backside, just says, yeah, follow me, you know, we can do this. There we go, some nice playing up to the camera as well. That'll be one to look back on for the memories. Meanwhile, they're still duking it out, aren't they? And all the while they're doing this, it's allowing Hirao to have more daylight and, as we see, fastest lap as well.
Yeah, I think Hirao's decided on his tactic fairly early here, which is just push, 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 make the gap. So, yeah, you know, it depends if he can manage that and take that pressure of leading, then it could be good. I mean, he's about a second ahead.
Oh, somebody's crashed out. Sorry to interrupt you, Fran. There was a big crash. There was a bike stricken in the middle of the track as well. I didn't quite see who was involved, but there's going to be a yellow flag there for sure. We'll keep an eye out on that and keep you updated as and when we receive more. But nonetheless, coming out of turn number 5, that was turn number 4 rather, there was definitely an incident there, and unfortunately it is in the form of one of the intact track bikes there, and that, I'm afraid, is the number 6 of Dirk Geiger, who has crashed out. So one would assume that the incident was possibly with Fermin Aldeguer, and indeed it was, yes. So the number 54 also caught up in that. The main thing is that Geiger is up and okay, and likewise Aldeguer as well. That's the best thing we could see.
Yeah, definitely. It can always be a bit dramatic if you crash in the middle of a pack or when there's a few bikes behind you.
Geiger lost it all. No, sorry, Aldeguer lost it all on his own, and just Geiger had nowhere to go.
Yeah, nothing Geiger could have done about that, sadly. Sometimes this just happens in racing and you can't avoid. So, we've got some drama here again. Someone else
No,
down.
That's just Geiger and Aldeguer moving their way back through. No,
yeah, but both okay and on their feet, which is always good. Main thing.
Indeed, Hidao, though, meanwhile, leads the way over the timing line. Look at the gap he's got, 1.8 seconds. We haven't seen this in European Talent Cup for a very long time, as Francisco Gomez puts his knees out because he doesn't want to get past the Realia Avintia bike. He's benefiting from that slipstream quite nicely, and he says, I'll hold on to that for now, and it'll do me good. But of course...
Sorry.
After you,
sorry
carry on.
Hira really, he's got the hammer down now. 153 dead for him, which is like a second, pretty much a second dead on, 1,000th off a second, quicker than Tatai's lap behind him. So he's definitely pushing for glory here. But only lap 4 of 16, and earlier on we saw he was the guy pushing to try and catch Baltus in the lead and made some big moves himself. So, you know, it's never over until it's over.
Meanwhile, all the while these guys are battling, it's allowing Rick Dunnick to close right up on the back of Gomez and Baltus. Gomez, though, slots up the inside of Baltus into the left-hander. We go through the Parabolica interior. Nice bit of riding there from the Spaniard. And he is ahead then on the number 9 machine. Of course, part of the team with the last Sport Prado outfit. The same outfit he was part of last year, so good continuity for him, and it's clearly a formula that works very, very well indeed. He's closing right up at the back of Tatai. He's going to go up the inside here into the chicane, surely. Yes, indeed he does. Nice bit of moving there from Gomez. He says, well, I'm not going to be waiting around too much longer because otherwise we're going to lose sight of Hidao, given his pace in the opening stages of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. That was such a classic Estoril move. It's a chicane I think everyone misses quite a lot in the MotoGP World Championship. But yeah, it's classic and nicely done there, nice and tidy.
Well, let's wait and see whether he can close that deficit down to the race leader. Over the timing line we go. There's still the two Bluesons, sorry, the Realia Avintia Academy bikes battling. I don't know why I've got Bluesons in my head. They haven't been a sponsor for a number of years. Anyway, hard on the brakes we go into the first corner. Gomez still holding on to second, to tie into third ahead of Baltus. Ooh, Baltus having to pick the bike up there as well. Oh, and some problems actually as well for Tatai. He pulls off to the side of the track, and it looks like a mechanical failure for the Spaniard. Oh, big shame there for the young Spanish rider, and he ends up, unfortunately, out of the race. Something that's no fault of his own. He was looking down. It could be the chain issue or something like that. We haven't quite seen what happened, but...
Not sure if he was trying to look for a gear there, or yeah, it was a bit strange. It looked like then he was trying to get it restarted again, but it's a bit heartbreaking for him, isn't it? Especially after having such good pace.
It's a very big shame for Carlos Tatai. Unfortunately, he will not end up on the podium here in race number 2 after what was a very good start to race 1, let's be honest. Meanwhile, Francisco Gomez leads this charge for second place. He is ahead of Barry Baltus at the moment. Down the hill we go into turn number 7. This is brilliantly close racing, and let's not forget, of course, that Baltus, his racecraft is absolutely unquestionable. If you're wondering, we know he led, of course, race 1, but in Valencia last year he was fighting with the best of them, pulling some nice aggressive moves and doing exactly what he needed to do to fight in and amongst the mix. But will they be able to close up on Julian Hidao? That remains to be the big question. Meanwhile, inside the top 5, Pietro Pevelainen. We haven't seen too much of him so far in this race, but good start for the Finnish rider who was outside of the top 10 in qualifying. Started on the 4th row of the grid. Jose Rueda in 6th place. Victor Rodriguez currently is in 7th. Xavier Artigas 8th. Andrzej Vostatek all the way up into 9th place. Great stuff from the Czech rider. Good start for him. And Mateo Pataka has actually lost out on the start. He is just inside the top 10.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to have another face-off for turn 1 here, but no, it's Gomez going to take it. But yeah, over the line that time, the gap didn't really change so much. Pretty similar laps for the two guys ahead. But Baltus set the fastest lap of 1:52, a bit quicker than the guys ahead of him. So Yeah, it's looking like there's still a good chance for these guys to catch him, maybe. At least the gap's not extending too much. It's just like 2 seconds or just under, which seems like a lot, but you know, as we always say, anything can happen.
Indeed it can. Well, I'll tell you what, I was really expecting a little bit more at this stage from Alejandro Diez, a rider who fought so far up the order in 2017 for the most part, and he's all the way down in 19th place. I think he's struggling a little bit with the bike. Of course, he did qualify quite far down the order, in fairness to Diez as well. He unfortunately did have some dramas in qualifying and was all the way down in 30th position to have made his way up into 19th. I'll take that comment back because it seems a little bit unfair now.
Maybe a little bit, you know, with gaining more than 10 places, you know, what
more than I could do, let's be honest.
What does someone have to do to impress you, Mr. Brooks? But yeah, so this guy, now here you can see Dunnick getting in this mix a little bit. They've been dueling it out just ahead, and he's just been sat there watching, keeping tabs on it. But this should be interesting. I think Baltus, I don't know, they seem to have fairly comparable pace at the moment, but Dunnick's in a good position to just watch the drama and not have to really use too much tyre or effort in getting involved.
Well, still 10 laps to go in this race, so anything is possible, as we know. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that phrase because it's one that we use far too much. Let's be honest. Good stuff from Andreas Kofler as well. He's up into 21st on the order at the moment, and he, of course, also had difficult qualifying, as we said. So good stuff for him. Meanwhile,
so well, that time you see Hiral, has made a little bit more of a gap that time. Got a little bit more fresh.
Oh, sorry to come from the Fran, but Rick Dunnick crashes out again in race 2. The Dutch rider succumbs at turn 1, unfortunately, just getting, well, trying to ask too much of the front end. And I have to say, Barry Baltus can thank his lucky stars. Likewise, Francisco Gomez.
Yeah, that could have been a bit of a game of Dutch skittles there. But yeah, that run off there is getting a lot of use, isn't it?
It certainly
today,
is. Well, this
various different riders.
Becomes a two-way scrap now between Baltus and Gomez. Gomez gets the better of Baltus as they run it a little bit hot into turn 4. Out of it now, we go into the kink of turn number 5, and then it is the Parabolica interior which closely follows. Yeah,
and these guys as well now, it can be gloves off if they're not sure if they can catch Hiral, because the gap behind them is incredible. About 7 seconds back to Peter Parvalainen, the Finnish rider in 4th. So there's another good group and scrap there behind Parvalainen, but these guys now have some fresh air and they can either fight it out and see who's going to come second, or they can try and get their heads down and catch Hiral at the front.
It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Through turn 7 we go. Let's have a look at the replay. This is what happened between Baltus and Gomez just a few moments ago. Baltus was up the inside. Gomez said, well, no thank you, I'll take that position back, and that was a nice bit of a clean move there from them, and it still sits with Gomez ahead of Baltus as they go out of turn 10 and through into turn 11 at the moment. Good stuff from these guys as well. They're really equal.
Yeah, these guys have really impressed me today, the European Talent Cup guys. There's been a fair few crashes and stuff like that, but in terms of the racing, there's been some really, really good moves and really clean racing, and it's really good to see. Obviously, they're all quite young, so it's good to start off on this kind of foot. Great racecraft and some great overtakes.
Absolutely right. I tell you what, Andrzej Vostatek, from starting in 19th place, he's up into the top 10 in 9th position. That's very, very good stuff for the Czech rider. This battle for the podium still going on, though. Gomez still ahead of Baltus.
I think they might have to give up the ghost a little bit here now, though, because it's 4.3 seconds to the leader now. Again, that time round, Hiral put in the fastest lap of 52.2. I think he's pretty much checked out, so if he's now able to keep that pressure and, well, keep calm under that pressure and bring it to the line, I think he seems to have really been able to outpace these guys in race 2.
I tell you what, it's absolutely incredible, though, how closely they're fighting, how close their lap times are. Just what are they within? A 10,000th of a second of each other, aren't they, last time around?
Yeah, we had a 9.71 and a 9.62. That's how close they were over the line last time round. So obviously
stuff.
Not a 9-minute lap, sorry, a 1:53.971 and a 1:53.962. But yeah, they're pretty much neck and neck, aren't they? Really well matched.
They really are. So down the hill we go, and this is just going to be a race-long scrap, I dare say. We're halfway through the race now, and if it carries on like this until lap 16, well, I won't be surprised at all. That's exactly what normally happens in the European Talent Cup. The field, though, further back have spread out quite significantly. Pietro Pavalainen, Victor Rodriguez, Xavier Artigas, and the retaining field which follows, all in their own little group for 4th position, so off the rostrum, but nonetheless really very good indeed.
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a good scrap going on there, but obviously these guys are keeping the drama fairly high in their 2-man battle for second. But yeah, it's quite uncharacteristic in some ways. Usually you see with these machines and these races, like, it's usually group fights. Or if, like earlier, the conditions, you know, obviously Baltas, incredible performance, but the conditions were a different factor for those guys. It was a bit more of an unknown. Now, fully dry, going racing, and this domination by Giral is really incredible. And likewise, the two guys fighting for second. The gap's really impressive.
Certainly is. Well, on the brakes into turn one we go. The European Talent Cup, of course, if you are brand new to it, they're all using exactly the same motorcycles, Honda NSF 250R machines, all identical, and that is a problem, I'm afraid to say, for the number 16, which is Jamie Davis, who has gone off by the looks of things. He picks the bike up. He's with the KRP team for this year after spending 2017 with the FAL 55 racing outfit, and unfortunately a bit of a weekend to forget for Jamie Davis. I was chatting to his dad, Tom, earlier on, which is a great name, by the way.
I think it's a terrible name.
Well, thank you very much.
Except for Tom Booth Amos. It's fine if you're a motorbike rider, but I think if you're a commentator, it's the worst name.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to feel wanted. To the point, I was chatting to his dad Tom earlier, and he just said everything that could have gone wrong this weekend has gone wrong. He said that he ended up having a big crash on Friday, and they ended up pretty much writing off the bike, so they've had to make some changes to it. And then in qualifying yesterday, they came in, and there was some issues with the setup, for example, and came in, said, OK, we'll make the changes to the setup, put some new tyres on the bike. Literally the second they put the tyres on bike, the heavens opened and rain started affecting qualifying. So it's been a learning weekend for Jamie Davis.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty difficult first weekend of the season for them. But, you know, he's got track time at least, and that is one of the most important things, especially for those guys. It's, you know, you've got to settle into it as well. When it's all new to you, you're not going to turn up and suddenly be ahead of guys who've been doing this for quite a while now and have got a season under their belt. But they want to make a step forward next time, I'm sure, and hopefully the weather will help them with that.
Certainly so. Well, we'll have to wait and see. We'll keep an eye on Jamie Davis, the young Briton's progress throughout the course of the 2018 season, as indeed we will with everybody. But look at Julian Giral, 7.3 seconds. It's just, as soon as he's broken that slipstream effect, he's just absolutely romped away. I think this is incredible stuff. Yeah,
definitely. It's proper domination now. He's really in his own postcode pretty much. And Baltas a little bit scrappy around there. Gomez has just got a little bit of fresh air now. He'll want to close back in on him pretty quick, I think. But then the fight for fourth is really hotting up now. There's a really good group there, and it's Finnish rider P2 Palvalainen has lost out a little bit. It's Victor Rodriguez at the head of that over the line. So there's a really good battle going on there. 4 or 5 riders really fighting it out.
Yeah, Mateo Pataka also in amongst the mix as well. So that could be a 3, potentially even 4-way scrap for that fourth position of the rostrum. Yeah,
looks like Baltas has managed to regroup and back on the rear wheel of Gomez. So no harm done there.
Well, we can see the battle in the far end of the picture as well. It's really exciting stuff between these guys. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get it on screen at some point as well, that battle for fourth place, because it's arguably one of the closest we've seen on track. But I say that, this battle for second place as well between Gomez and Baltas is still going on. It's just that the form book has been thrown out the window, really. We were kind of expecting Baltas to romp away with it, but in the dry conditions, certainly seems like Gomez has got the pace to stick with him. And, well, Giral, as we said, is already off into the centre of Lisbon.
Yeah, I think Giral's maybe actually decided to just ride to the next race. He's straight off for the Spanish coast. But no, really impressive from him. But yeah, these guys are pretty evenly split. You can see Baltas at some points really taking a look up the inside, looking like he's going to threaten to make a move. But at the end of the moment, just sitting there behind him and checking out the competition. But here now, I think with the slipstream, it's almost going to be a challenge to not make a move with the extra speed he'll have by the time they get down to turn 1. Have to see if he pops out or if he's content to stay there.
Gomez putting his knees out to try and slow his bike down a little bit more, the air brake as it were. Not quite the leg dangle. He runs a little bit wide into that first corner, but does manage to hold on. Here is that battle we were talking about for fourth place then. P2 Palvalainen has just lost out to Victor Rodriguez on the JH Clay Leglise bike. In the middle of that is Mateo Pataka, the 658 Squadra Corsa outfit. This is a great little scrap as well. Yeah,
definitely. It's good to see these guys on screen a little bit. It's a bit unfortunate for them. They've been usurped in the limelight with that duel for second. But yeah, it's a really good battle here. They've been swapping positions a few times and they're pretty tight together on track, as you can see. And yeah, I mean, they're quite a long way off the podium. So unless there's any drama ahead, they know they're dueling for fourth. So yeah, I mean, that's a good haul of points. A lot of these guys, that's an incredible way to start their season in the second race.
Well, we go into the interior parabolica, and here comes Rodriguez. He's going to chance a move up the inside of Matteo Patacca. Does he make it? Yes, he does. Nicely done.
Very nice, very neat. No drama, straight ahead and chocks away.
Yeah, carry on.
Indeed. And keep calm.
Any more quotes you want to get from...
I don't know, I went terribly British there, didn't I? Keep calm, carry on, chops away.
Oh, exactly.
But no, it's...
You're going to come out with one of those pilot caps later on with the goggles and stuff.
Indeed, I'm going to... in fact, for next time out, I'm going to come as fancy dress as Winston Churchill.
Fancy, I like that. A nice cigar as well. Good.
Maybe,
good.
yeah, you know.
Hey, wait and see what happens. I look forward to that. I'll keep you updated in Valencia next time out.
Please don't.
Well, Victor Rodriguez still leads this charge for 4th place, ahead of the number 88 of Patacca. Then close behind is Pietro Pevelainen, the Finn, doing a good job fighting inside the top 5. Xavier Artigas, though, also very, very close. And then just a couple of bike lengths back of Artigas is Jose Rueda and then Matteo Bartelli.
Yeah, he seems to be a little bit steadier now in this race, Rueda, after what happened this morning.
Can't say I blame him either.
Yeah, definitely not. Now, if you've had one incident like that, what you need in the second race is points, not glory. And, you know, you need to leave the weekend with something to show for it, really.
Well, into the... Well, 4th corner we go, 3rd corner we go with Gomez and Baltas as we change over to look at this one. 4 laps now remaining here in the European Talent Cup.
And it looks like Baltas has got the better of him.
It does for now, yeah, certainly. And yeah, Gomez running a little bit wide through that corner as well. So just a little bit scruffy here from Gomez, isn't it? Not really what he needs.
No, Baltas using all of the rumble strip there right up to the green stuff, but not on the green stuff, so that's perfectly fine.
We did see a few penalties on track limits. Here was the overtake that took place. Here was Baltas. Look at this on the limit of adhesion into the 1st corner. Brilliant stuff from Baltas, the Belgian rider. To hold on to that was just incredible. Gomez also doing a really, really good job from behind. The gap that these guys have created is significant now.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Hiral is really genuinely, he's gone. He's pretty much, unless something happens with him or his bike, he's 9.6 ahead now last time over. But these guys, yeah, they've got a good gap back to the guys behind them, 6-7 seconds, so they can relax into the duel, as it were. Obviously not terribly relaxing. They're going to be fighting as hard as they possibly can over the next sort of 4.5 laps. But at least they know that it's just a 2-man war for that 2nd place on the podium.
Through the final corner we go with Baltas versus Gomez. The battle for 2nd position intensifies. The battle for 4th place is still going on between Patacca, Rodriguez, Pevelainen and Artigas. Currently it is Patacca who is leading that charge. Leading the race, though, is this man, the number 76 of Julian Guinao. Over the line we go, and Gomez back in front of Baltas.
Looks like it, but not quite. Not quite. Switch as you were again into turn 1. But and this battle again, that time not so much chopping and changing. We've seen a few bikes 4-5 abreast into that turn in various classes today. So yeah, a bit calmer that time round, but it's pretty interesting. Now Patacca's got to the front of that group, so I'll have to see what he can do. Like I said, Palis and Michele got big hopes for these guys, and it's great to see this form and fight.
Oh, Rodriguez very hot into there. Well, he just managed to hold on to the bike at turn number 3, that was. And thankfully, he's lucky. Well, thankfully, he's lucky stars. 1, he's still on the bike, and 2, he's still in that group.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't actually lose out too much there, and Patacca will be thinking, well, something's just hit me. But not too much drama. Could have been a lot worse there, but managed to hold on to it. So, yeah, close, but not quite.
Well, 4 laps now remaining here at the European Talent Cup. It's race number 2, and it's work to do for these guys. Who is going to get the advantage? Still, Pevelainen is trying to hold off the charge of the number 43, who is very close behind of Artigas, and then the number 91, of course, of Rodriguez, who's now sitting at the back of this very group.
Seems to have gathered himself up quite quickly there and straight back on the group, so no harm done, really. But he'll certainly want to be a little more careful next time. Then we've got to move up into the chicane.
It's cheeky from Artigas there. He was ahead of Pevelainen. And Pevelainen says, well, you can try that, but I'm going to try and get you back at the next corner. It doesn't quite pay off for the Finn. Not
quite, but it's pretty close there, you know. There should be another opportunity if he can stay on that rear wheel, but he doesn't seem to quite have the same speed through there.
So through the final corner we go. This battle for 4th place is going to intensify. We're going to be over the timing line with 3 laps remaining very, very shortly here. And it'll be interesting to see exactly what will happen. Still, Pataka just able to break that slipstream to the useful effect, and Artigas with nothing to do. Unfortunately, an incident there for one of the riders. That's Guilherme Silva, the Brazilian, who has gone down. So
looks okay if a slightly inelegant exit there, at least. Rider okay, that's a shame for him. Yeah, like you say, second race of the day and DNF, and so close to the end. This is also a heartbreaker for these guys. You get almost all the way through race distance and then mistake late on.
I think he was left wondering what had gone wrong there. Someone who's not wondering what's gone wrong is Julian Hidao as well. Podium earlier on today, and the near-perfect start to his championship charge. Oh, the bike stricken in the middle of the track there. Is that one of the Glees bikes? I can't quite see from here. Nonetheless, yellow flags, double yellows are waving, which of course means slow down, even be prepared to stop, and a red flag has been thrown here. So that does conclude the end of racing for the European Talent Cup. We will have no restart after this point. There's not really much point in doing a three-lap restart, as over 75% of the race distance has been completed. It's actually one of the Reale Avintia Academy bikes that's involved there. I didn't quite catch the number as it was wheeled off at the side of the track. Let's have a look and see if we can piece together what happened. And, well, unfortunate high side there. The big thing is the rider is up and okay, but the bike's stricken in the middle of the track. That's the number 94 of number 94 that was called up there, of Marvin Seedrath, unfortunately. As we said, the main thing is he's up and okay. However, it does conclude racing very, very quickly here indeed. So the riders are now going to be, well, heading back down to Parc Ferme, and of course it does pronounce Julian Hidao as the race winner for race number 2 of the European Talent Cup. Barry Baltus in second, Francisco Gomez in third position. Good stuff from the top three. Victor Rodriguez fourth, Matteo Pataka in fifth place. Pietro Pavalainen will come home in sixth, Xavier Artigas seventh, Jose Rueda in eighth place, Adrian Fernandez ninth, Andrzej Vostatek inside the top 10. Barry Baltus in second place, so a first and a second for the Belgian rider. Certainly not a bad result for him. He'll be very, very pleased with that. The premature ending to the race. It's a bit of a shame, but nonetheless, of course, it's in the interest of safety, so it's completely understandable and very well reasonable as well. So, good stuff. Francisco Gomez, there he is in third position. The Spanish rider, of course, that duel with Baltus all race long. And Hidao as well, be very pleased with that race victory. Good stuff from him. So conversations, of course, in Parc Ferme now, just to try and really work out what happened and find out why the red flag was thrown. And, well, he doesn't seem too displeased with the fact that it was thrown either, which is quite understandable after taking what was a absolutely brilliant race victory. Absolutely commanded it, didn't he, as well? Led from start to finish and just looked untouchable throughout the course of the race. It's not the final one we have, though, here in the FIM CEV Repsol. Next time out, we have got, or next race up next, rather, I should say, is race 2 of the Moto3 European Championship. So there is your race winner. As they're just trying to determine exactly what happened. Julian Hidao. Of course, there is some kind of debate that will happen here, because I don't know whether it'll count back a lap in terms of the battle for second position. Let's see if we can determine who was second then over the line. Well, we cut away from it right at the last moment. I think it was Baltus who was ahead over the timing line. Let's wait and see, because the line was a little bit further down than that. But we'll wait for official confirmation. And as soon as we can get it, we'll let you know. Perhaps it was the other way around. No updates on our timing screens here in the commentary box, by the way. So if we do get an update, I'll let you know on that one as well. Just about 2:30 local time. Sun's out, as we can see. Good weather now after what's been a difficult day. So final results then, here we go. And it is Julian Hidao who takes the race victory ahead of Francisco Gomez and Barry Baltus. Those two separated by the smallest of margins. Matteo Pataka gets the better of Victor Rodriguez and Pietro Pavalainen, as well as Xavier Artigas for fourth place. Jose Rueda gets a finish on the board in eighth position, with Andrzej Vostatek, the Czech rider, in touch in ninth place as well. Good stuff for the number 50, his second year, of course, in the European Talent Cup after a tricky 2017 campaign for him. Let's go down then to the race winner.
He's an incredible race and an incredible advantage, the gap over the line, although it ended a little bit early. How does that feel after the first win of the year for you?
Incredible. So, what can I say? It's amazing. So, we have worked a lot to this race and it's fantastic. Thanks all people to support me and we have think the next race.
¿Y qué nos puede decir en castellano un poco sobre la carrera?
Wow, ha sido una carrera increíble porque, bueno, tampoco me lo esperaba, pero bueno, he visto que tenía ritmo y he empezado a tirar y nada más, es que es increíble.
Y es un muy bien comienzo del campeonato para ti, con un podio, y ahora has ganado la segunda carrera del día. ¿Qué esperas para Valencia?
Bueno, hay que seguir trabajando sobre todo porque ha sido un fin de semana muy positivo y sobre todo caótico porque estos últimos días entre el agua y el viento ha habido muchas caídas y lesiones y bueno, hemos conseguido salir vivos de aquí y líderes.
Gracias.
A vosotros.
Well, there we go. Nice to hear from the race winner. In English, of course, and in Spanish, his home language as well. Julian Guirao. Or Guirao, rather, I should say. We've been calling him that for the whole race, and then I go and make the mistake by calling him Guirao again. Deary me, I'll never learn, will I? But absolutely wonderful stuff from him. Really, really promising, strong race where he managed to lead the way quite comfortably and quite commandingly as well. Absolutely incredible. Let's wait and see whether that form continues through the season. Well, away from the right, it was Barry Baltus on pole position, followed by Gomez and then Carlos Tatai. Who will get the lead down towards the first corner was the question that we were all asking. But it would still stay in the way of Baltus, the top three lining astern as they went through that first turn. Meanwhile, they all thundered through. No incidents at the first corner, which was good to see. As Julian Guirao on the Monlab Competition Estoril Galicia bike managed to make some ground in the opening stages. The leaders changed hands and Guirao hit the front as, unfortunately, one of the Cuna de Campeones bikes went tumbling down the road. Meanwhile, we were into the first corner as the Reali Aventura Academy team set about holding on to the back of the Honda of Guirao. There was an incident, of course, as we saw at turn number 6, just coming out of it there as well. Fortunately, everybody escaped unharmed following that. Meanwhile, Carlos Tatai suffered some mechanical problems in the mid-stages of the race. A big shame for the Spanish rider. He ended up with no points on the board and no race finish in race number 2. Meanwhile, at the front, well, Guirao managed to get a distinct advantage over the rest of the field, and then it came down to Gomez versus Baltus for second place, a scrap that would continue throughout the entirety of the race, right up until the red flag was thrown 3 laps prior to the end. Eventually, of course, it would go the way of Gomez ahead of Baltus. The battle for 4th place was also very good in the closing stages. As we can see, the number 88 of Matteo Patacca, who eventually did finish in 4th position, was leading the field at this point in this little group. Some good overtakes. The red flag, though, was thrown due to an incident at turn number 9. Unfortunately, one of the Blumac HMA Reali bikes crashing out of the race. Unfortunately, the rider up and okay. The rider in question, of course, being Martin Siedrath from Germany. Nonetheless, a premature end to racing here for the European Talent Cup. A shame, but regardless, a very, very promising and exciting race. Trophies presented to the Estoril Galicia team. And they're singing happy birthday to him as well, because it's his birthday by the sounds of things. Very nice. Miguel Oliveira presents the trophy to the 3rd place finisher, Barry Baltus. So 2 bits of silverware for the Belgians to take home here today. Not quite the top step of the rostrum, but regardless, a very good ride for him into 3rd place. Francisco Gomez on the podium after a troubled race 1. Good stuff for the number 9. And then we wait for the race winner. Here he is. Not Miguel Oliveira, of course. Julian Guirao takes the checkered flag after a 13-lap dash in race 2 for the European Talent Cup. And he also receives a petrol check as well. Good stuff for him. So that'll make the journey home a little bit easier for mum and dad, perhaps, hey? Fantastic racing. Let's hear the national anthem. Well, the Casella is sprayed on the podium. Good stuff from all of those riders. They seem pretty happy with that, and with completely good reason to as well. What a fantastic race. What a fantastic scrap it was in the European Talent Cup. Houdin Hirao on top in race number 2. Wonderful stuff. Second place, of course, Francisco Gomez, Barry Bautas on the podium in 3rd position. What's this going to mean for the championship, I hear you ask? Well, we'll find that out in just a few moments' time after the celebrations on the podium have concluded and the necessary photographs are all done. Very much liking the sprocket-style design for the trophies as well. So, final championship standings for the European Talent Cup after the first round. Well, Houdin Hirao has the advantage. He leads the way by 4 points ahead of Barry Bautas. Francisco Gomez, 19 points adrift in 3rd place. The Mateo Pataka, 22 points away on 23 points in 4th place. Xavier Artigas, just 1 point adrift of him. Fermin Aldeguer in 6th place after a DNF, of course, in this race following that incident with himself and Geiger. Inside the top 10 just is Pietu Pavalainen. He is 1 point ahead of Matteo Bartelli. Good stuff from him. Carlos Tolesias, Jose Rueda, after a difficult start to life in the European Talent Cup for the Estrella Galicia rider. David Salvador, Andres Vostatek inside the top 15. And the final point scorer is Vincent Falcone, who, of course, had those dramas in the opening race. No, so the start of the second race, rather, for the Legalese rider. Good stuff from all involved, though. So final championship standings, as we can see. The second race for Moto2 will be along the way very, very shortly indeed. And we look forward to that. There'll be no changes in terms of race time. So let's have a bit of time to reflect then on the European Talent Cup race there, Fran. It was a very interesting affair, wasn't it? There's some good battles going on throughout the course of the race. Really exciting. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Julian Giral told me just before that interview he doesn't speak an awful lot of English, so he switched to Spanish there, just saying that he knew he had the rhythm and that he was going to push. And obviously, it's a great start to the championship for him with podium and then a win. So, yeah, pretty good going back onto home turf for Valencia. Hey, yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting for him, and indeed for the European Talent Cup race as well. It's a shame, of course, that the race was curtailed a couple of laps before the end. Been a quick run down to Parc Fermé for you. Yeah, definitely. Suddenly, red flag came out, and then you do the maths, realise definitely not going to get a restart, and then realise I've got to be a significant distance away rather quickly. but yeah, no, it's all good, and. Yeah, obviously the Gomez-Baltas battle, sadly didn't get to see that quite reach conclusion, but for Giral, not much difference, so good race for him. Yeah, definitely. Well, Moto2 is along the way very, very shortly as well, which we're excited about, because Moto2 is always a frantic affair, especially if it goes anyway to what we had in race number 1. We'll talk more about that in a few moments' time, because race 1 was hugely, hugely exciting and unpredictable, wasn't it? It was. It was very interesting. Had a little bit of history made, and now we'll see what will happen. It's completely dry, I think, pretty much. I mean, parts of this tarmac are darker than others anyway. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one now. A bit of a reset. We'll see what the guys like Fernandez, Raffin can do after that race 1, and see if they can really get back and fight for that win. It'll be very exciting. Well, Moto2 European Championship Race 2 is on the way very shortly. We'll have more action here for the FIM CEV Repsol Round 1.